banks and fractional reserve banking. So then you want a tangent about risk versus reward. Now, the only way to make money in this world is to risk something, or at least in the financial world, is to risk your money, your wealth.
No, the only two ways to make money is to do productive work that has value, or to exploit somebody who does productive work and that has value. Okay, of course, that's not being a crook. Those are the two honest. Well, they're not even, no, one of them's not really quite honest, is it? No, exploiting people isn't quite honest. All right, so there's only one honest way to make money, and that's to do something productive. All right, that's it. That's only one way to make money honestly. All right, and the rest of the ways are all grades of dishonest.
And since you're risking your money, you're going to be paid back a reward for doing so. Otherwise, why the hell would you do it?
Yeah, well, look, I went over this and you completely missed it. You never even touched the fucking argument, okay? Because the point is the risk is being financed, the net for the risk is being established by the society. So they're getting the money as if they're risking their actual life when they're not. They're just risking some money, all right? They're not taking the risk of the real risk of the adventure. So if some business does sloppy business practices, they make huge amounts of money because they didn't take care of their workers, or they create, shoddy and unsafe conditions, and then a bunch of those workers get killed. Who pays the bill? The way the system is now, society pays the motherfucking bill. Not the risk takers, not the people who gained huge money off of that. So when Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac take risks and fail, okay, who's paying the bill? We see who's paying the bill. The people are paying the bill, not the fuckers who made 20% or 30% on their goddamn investment for 7 years. Those assholes aren't paying the motherfucking bill. The people who reaped the profits didn't take the fucking risk. They didn't pay the price, the real price, the end of the road price, the dead end price. They enjoyed the fast ride, and then as soon as the goddamn train was going to hit the goddamn wall, they bailed out. Okay, so they got the free fucking ride, and the goddamn society got the motherfucking train wreck. That's unethical, it's bullshit, and you can't defend it.
Alright, so Amanda, you personally attack me, so let me personally attack you. I just mean insults, not personal attack. I don't take it too seriously.
Yeah, well, whatever. You're not going to be able to personally attack the logic I've thrown in your face. I didn't personally attack you. I attacked the corruption and the scuzziness of your philosophy. Your philosophy is vacant of logic. It's vacant of any kind of ethical conception of the dignity of human beings. You're a scumbag. You're an asswipe. You're a motherfucking piece of shit. Okay? It's not personal. It's just a description of the psychology that's running your little fucking pig face.
But, you mentioned in your video that, okay, say you have $150,000, you're going to go buy $150,000 at the S&P, you're going to expect or hope to make 10%, and then you're going to go to the bank.
Yeah, what's the practical reality? That's the statistical facts, okay? Over time, the Dow Jones grows by a certain amount of, and so you can just say, yes, year over year, it makes this much money on average, okay? So it's not it's not an unreasonable expectation, it's not a hope. Okay, it's a practical reality in the circumstances we have lived in, because we have ensured the system's growth, because the society, has created the safety net. Society accepted the $11 trillion in federal debt. Society accepted the trade deficit. Society accepted all the things that created that fake bubble market. Okay, so people could invest in it quite reliably. And you're going to mention a couple of fucking dips in the market, and those dips lasted, what, 12 months, 14 months? So all they had to do was have a cushion to survive that little dip, and they were fine. There was no crash in the market, okay? The market hit a speed bump, period. Okay, so as long as they could tolerate the speed bump, as long as they weren't going too fast, they weren't too highly margined on debt, they could survive the speed bump.
You say, look, I had all this money in the S&P, lend me more money, now you're going to put that in, so you have $300,000 in the S&P. And you want to make 10% on that and pay off the interest in 2 years or whatever. Okay, fine. You can do that. Anybody can do that. You know, if you
And that's how rich people live, you dumb fuck. Go look at the books of the average rich person, okay? And you would think, oh, they don't have any debt at all, right? Because they're rich. No, they got a ton of debt. Corporations have huge amounts of money and capital. They still have huge amounts of debt, okay? Because they're playing the fucking game. They're playing the game that they can make money on debt. Okay, my own town, this municipality, plays the fucking same game. They're actually making money on debt sometimes. It's disgusting.
That money, go right ahead and do it. But why the hell do you feel that you're guaranteed 10% on that? You're not. It's called a risk.
No, it's called almost a guarantee. Like I said, why do you, what, over the last 50 years, what are the fucking numbers? Over the last 50 years, what was the year-over-year gain you could make on the Dow Jones Industrial? Over the last 50 years, what's the year-on-year average you could make on the S&P? Okay, go find those numbers and then explain to me how there was a real risk in any of that shit for the last 50 years. Because the risk, we accepted the risk. The people took the goddamn risk. That's why we have $11 trillion in debt, and that's why our economy is shit. And that's why we don't produce 1 million cars anymore.
You're rewarded for taking that risk. But, you know, if you only have $150,000, that's what people would call a gamble, you know? If it was guaranteed you can get 10% per year, every year at the S&P, why would anybody put money in anything else? Why would you start a business? I mean, you can just make a lot of money. I mean, if you have enough money.
Yeah, well, look, the reason why people accept 4% interest in the bond market when they can get 12% in the stock market, because, yes, there's some people who say, oh, this thing's got to crash. They see the bubble getting bigger and bigger, and they say, fuck, I'm not going to invest in that because that's a bubble, okay? So they keep thinking the bubble has to burst because they say, well, people aren't going to accept $11 trillion in debt. I mean, the average person looking at $10 trillion in debt might say, well, there's no way a bill, you know, promising $700 billion to a bunch of bankers could possibly pass the United States Congress. I mean, there's no way that could happen. I mean, the people couldn't be that fucking retarded, okay? But it happened, didn't it? Because the people were all against it, but the congressmen were all for it because they're all millionaires. And so they said, we'll take the risk, and if we do it the right way, we'll give people no way to vote no. We'll just make it half our party and half their party, and that way we'll really fuck people over because there's no way they're going to be able to voice their objection to this obscenity.
Right there. The answer is that not everybody makes 10% per year in the S&P. If you average it out over the long run, in the past, that's what it...
Look, theoretically, how the stock market should work is should be just one person taking the money of another person investing in the stock market. But that's only theory when you create something like bankruptcy, okay? Because now the people are financing the risk. Now the society is financing the risk. So when you allow corporations to say, we're a corporation, we're not people anymore, we're a corporation. So if we go bankrupt, you can't get to any of us. We're just investors in a corporation, okay? We take no responsibility for the damage done by our company. We only reap the profits from our company. So as soon as you allow that to be how your capitalism works, you've fucked the risk ratio.
That's what's happened. But you tell that to somebody that, you know, that was investing in the stock market in the crash of 29 or in 81 or in 87 or, you know, even in the early 2000s.
Kind of stupid to compare those other little bumps to the crash. And we are going to do the crash again, you dumb fucker. That's exactly what we did. We roaring 20'd ourselves right into the same fucking scenario, okay? And it has nothing to do with the runs on the bank or any of that other crap. It has to do with the fact that none of the money has any fucking value. And it has to be now destroyed because you people have all invested in a fake growth. The government printed a ton of money, a bunch of fake money, and we've never paid the inflation cost of that printed motherfucking money.
Thousands. You're not guaranteed anything. It's called a risk, and that's why you're awarded that 10%. It doesn't just come up out of nowhere, which is what you know.
It comes out of the fact that, again, society is providing the foundation. Society accepted the $11 trillion in income taxpayer debt. Society accepts bailing out the bankrupt business by saying the consumer will pay the price. The consumer will pay for it. Okay, that's what's created this artificial gain, okay, at the public's expense, at the average human being's expense.
Understand, that money that you earn, you know, comes from the risk of purchasing that asset. You may not get that money back. And that's basically...
Yeah, but what you'll never have to do is pay for not the money, just getting the money back. You won't have to pay for the real risk, and the real risk was bankruptcy. The real risk was the business going out of business, all right, and that you would have creditors that had to be paid, and you've been made exempt from paying those fucking bills.
This comes down to, and if you don't understand that, I can't help you.
Yeah, well, like I said, you're the one that needs the help understanding, okay? You didn't touch any of the meaningful arguments. You haven't touched any of the brokenness that's in this fucking system, okay? You're an asshole, okay? You're an arrogant, stupid, ignorant prick, all right? And so if you can't make the rational argument, I'm going to keep calling you that because you're demonstrating it, all right? So find a way to make the argument, okay? Find a way to logically say that bankruptcy isn't a corruption of the risk ratio. Find a way to say that the minimum wage isn't a perfect example of how your fucking goddamn charts don't mean a goddamn thing, because the system will destroy people. It will consume them. It'll eat them like a tyrannosaurus if we allow it.